That a little bit later on, but we're now joined by former Baylor tight end, and I've known him a long, long time, nearly 40 years, Steve Stutsman, whose son Danny is a star linebacker at Oklahoma. Steve joins us, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and also David Smoak. How you been, my friend?
What's going on, Dave, Craig,
and Paul?
Paul,
yeah,
rest of the guys. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a year. It's been a year since we spoke.
Yes, it has been. And to go back over this again, you played at Baylor after a great run at Dangerfield. Your son's at Oklahoma. So is this week, is this all about blood, or is this anything about the alma mater as well?
Well, yeah, okay. I think we know it's blood. It's blood right now. I got to root for OU. Last year I think we went into that game undefeated, and I'm like, hey, if anybody was going to knock us off, I'd rather be beaten. But that was last year. This is this year, so still rooting for OU, and it's going to be an exciting game this week.
Do you find yourself, though, at times, like during a game, forgetting that your son is out there for just a second, and say Baylor scores a touchdown, and you're like, oh, hey, great, and then you're like, oh no, that's bad.
I might secretly, I surely do not project that.
No, but in your mind, you have those moments, right?
Yeah, of course. You want to, you want to see a little success, but not too much.
Yeah,
not too much.
Steve,
absolutely.
Steve, seeing Oklahoma this season, I mean, obviously it's been a little bit up and down with Brent Venables in year number one, but as a player's parent, knowing all that they went through, kind of starting around, almost this time last year, as a wild, turn of events that they were dealing with, how do you feel like Brent Venables has come in and kind of established some roots and some foundation to build off of, and just what have been your impressions as a parent of how they've handled the program?
I think Brent's done a heck of a job. Obviously the way that went down with the old staff wasn't good. Left some bare cupboards and some things to set back. Kind of same situation Coach Aranda was in when Matt Rule left. A little different. Took a long while. Took a little longer to get their guy, but they got him. And he immediately came in and he preaches a culture, and it's all about a culture and building a foundation, and here's what we're going to do. And he's done a great job, and players responded to it. And, I'll say hats off. There's always high expectations at OU, and, the fans expect, a great product. And they sometimes don't understand that the road to get there is sometimes going to be bumpy. Brent Venables' defense is not simple. If you follow Clemson and what they've done, it's a pretty intense defense and schemes to learn for sure. But he's done a great job. He's put together a heck of a staff, and I tell you what, he's got those guys bought in for sure.
They obviously struggled early, and obviously it was on the defensive side, and then they had the issue when Dylan Gabriel was out too, but They really did. It looked like they were somewhat confused. Guys running free. TCU obviously ends up being incredibly explosive. And then Texas, that was a bad day up at the Cotton Bowl. But what has Danny told you about how they have maybe turned the corner? It looks like, they put together a couple of wins. They didn't panic. They didn't fall off the rails. Saturday will be interesting, but just how they have tried to get this thing out of the ditch.
Well, Dave, it's about incremental improvements. And that's what the coaches are wanting every day, every week, and trusting in the other guy. I mean, if you break down, any tape, it's not as bad as it always seems. It's not always good as you thought it was, right? So, when you're breaking down in these big bunch plays, and you look at it, you're like, well, you got two guys covering one guy. Well, busted play here. This guy thought he had this guy, and no one got the call in. Just little things like that, and I think they made some improvements starting with Kansas. Kansas, came in ranked when we played them. And then obviously everybody knows that Iowa State, maybe not the best offense, but surely a great defensive team that holds teams down, makes it close. So they've seen some incremental gains. So that's all you can ask for after having the three losses, and goals change, right? I mean, the goal for everybody is to win a conference championship, and then as you kind of take yourself out of it, you got to have different goals. You want to finish strong. You want to, go to the best bowl you can, and build on next year. So I think they're heading in the right direction.
What was it like when Danny first got that defensive playbook or whatever they use? I know it's different now, but when you first see that going from what they were doing to now, like you said, it's very complex and it's a lot to learn. It was a lot for Baylor's guys when Phil Snow was here. That's what you heard. It's like, this is a lot of information. Did he feel like he almost had like an extra high-level class?
Well, I'll be honest. So Danny's a true sophomore, so this is his second defense to learn in 2 years, right? So I was up at his house with some his roommates' parents, and in his room he had the game plan, and that thing was 62 pages for that particular game. Not the playbook. That was the game plan for the defense, his position. And I'm looking at that thing going, I think I know football pretty good, but then I looked at that and I go, you know what? I don't know as much as I think I do, especially on defense. I'm looking at these calls and looking at what they're doing and how they make the adjustments, and I'm like, holy cow, this is sophisticated. And you're asking 18, 19, 20-year-olds to learn that in a short time. It takes time.
What's it like to have a son who is an athlete in today's age? I mean, knowing kind of how it was for you, but knowing that there's the whole social media aspect and all the other things that go with it. Is that something you feel like you really have to check in on or learn much about, or is that just kind of the part of his journey and it's just normal life as is for, a guy like him at his age?
Man, what a great question. I do check on it. I'm very active on Twitter, and I've used that even when my daughter was playing. I use it as a tool, and then I also use it as kind of monitoring. I used to monitor, monitoring the athletes, what they're doing, but also look at, what they're saying, not only my son, but I'm just looking at different things and thinking, man, if you're an athlete today, man, why would you even want to go to social media? I mean, it's just a mess. You can't look at it. You don't need to. It's toxic. For every good comment, you'll have 20, 25, 30 negative comments, no matter if you win 50-0 or what. It's just different. And I think those athletes today do a good job of being taught to navigate away from it, to be honest. I mean, I don't know no other way to say it. It's not really a good thing for, to spend a lot of time on.
So he played high school football in Florida. You still live in Florida?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yep. Right up. Yep.
So as kind of what Craig was talking about in a different way, the fact that Oklahoma, Norman, it's a flight. And then there might be games that are elsewhere. How often do you get to watch him play? And how does that go with you getting tickets? And obviously, how does the athletic department take care of that for you as well?
Go to every game. Don't miss a game.
Good.
As soon as that schedule is out, we book every hotel, every flight as far advanced as we can. We're just, it's 12, 13 game season. Just, I can't get that time back. So I whatever it costs, whatever it is, I'm not going to miss. So yeah, we do, to answer that question, we do go. It's very streamlined now. Getting tickets, you go into one of their portals. They vet you. If you have a family member or a friend coming, they vet them, and then you just kind of list it in, and then they have a designated compliance and staff, no matter away or home gate that you just walk up, show them your ID, get your tickets, and then it's good to go. So really streamlined, really, really. I'm sure everybody, not only OU, I'm sure everybody has it down like that. Makes it really easy.
If you would have had NIL back in the mid-'80s when you came out of Dangerfield, what would NIL you would like to have promoted and endorsed back then?
Probably Payless gas station in Dangerfield, Texas. How about that one?
There you go. Steve Stutsman was an all-state, state champion tight end, by the way, at Dangerfield, and then became a part of Baylor under Grant Taft. What did Grant Taft mean to you?
He was a head figure, father figure with lots of wisdom. Obviously, he was a great speaker, motivator. Did some great things for Baylor, absolutely. So it was pretty cool to be under him.
What is the number? Is Danny's 26, right?
8.
Oh, he moved. 28. I'm sorry, 28. What is that number significant for any other reason other than that's the number he's wearing now?
It used to be a little unknown running back from there, Adrian Peterson, was the last guy to wear that. But other than that, that's the number they gave him. I was secretly hoping that they gave him that one because maybe they could sneak him in at some some slot or some tight end. But that was just me being offensive minded.
Well, his dad was a hell of an offensive player. By the way, speaking of that, Dennis Alexander, your former high school coach, he was into the Texas High School Hall of Honor this past summer. He's going into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame next, I guess it's in, April or May of next year. About time?
Oh, absolutely. I texted him and actually, I keep in touch with him. I think I reached out to you to get his number and congratulated him and chatted with him. Just absolutely, man. What a when I had time just to reflect on what he meant to me and what he did, man. Just a great guy. Just a great guy, great coach. Understood the players and got the most out of them.
Steve, how much have you been able to watch Baylor this year? Obviously, taking a couple of lumps along the way. Now won a couple games, like OU's won a couple games. So we'll have a couple of teams with some recent confidence-building wins. But have you been able to check them out much?
Yes, when they're on. If I'm not at OU, we head back. I'm watching them. I watched them. Man, what a heartbreaking loss of West Virginia.
Yeah.
Then they bounced back with Kansas, and last week I thought they did just really handled a hot. I think they're a hot team as Texas Tech that just won't go away. Reese, the running back, is impressive. I told Danny, I go, dude, you better watch out. You got Thunder and Lightning. I can't remember number 28's name, but I know he's a load.
Quaylon Jones, yeah.
Yeah, Jones. I mean, so you're looking at Thunder and Lightning, and you got some big hosses up there, and the defense as well. I mean, it's a well-rounded team, man. It's a good team, and I think I think Oklahoma and Baylor match up pretty good. I mean, if you break down position by position, it's across the line. It's going to be a pretty good matchup.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, there was a time Baylor had no chance. There was a couple of times when they made it close. I remember Matt Rule's, what was his first year? That was kind of the game they got beat, but they gave Baker Mayfield, scared the hell out of Oklahoma that first year. So you coached at Foundation Academy, so you've been a coach. How difficult or was it easy as being who you were as a phenomenal player, and you were, to become a coach to coach players?
It was pretty easy, Dave. I felt like I had something to give back. Some knowledge and to teach some things that I learned at higher levels that I could get back to these guys. And, they're like a sponge. They just want to learn, and they see results, quick when, especially when you're teaching them technique and different things that they, probably at a small school, they're not going to get as quickly, if they went to a larger school. But it was definitely fun and rewarding. I coached offensive line. Nowhere did I want to be by Danny, or he didn't want to be by me. I didn't want to coach his position or any of that. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted to be out there sharing with those guys, and it allowed me to be with my son and watch him, be on the same field and watch him perform on Friday Night Lights, which is exactly what I needed. I'm not a coach's dad or anything like that, or I try to push. I just want to be in the background and let him blaze his own path.
As good a tight end as I've ever seen play high school football. Ricky Dudley, the great from Henderson, who played at Ohio State, also in the NFL with the Raiders, was one of that in that same conversation. There's a great picture of you and Danny hugging after the game. The interception to close it out with this, you mentioned Adrian Peterson. He looked pretty damn good after the pick of Deckers. He almost got that in the end zone.
He did, man. He couldn't get any. He couldn't get any blockers from his fellow linebackers, man. They're kind of jogging in the way there. But he was excited. He was telling me, he was walking me through. He's like, man, I could feel this wide receiver coming up on me, and I did not want somebody to punch the ball out. So he's like, so I'm like, well, do I dive or do I give a stiff arm to Deckers? And he goes, I chose a stiff arm and let the offense do the rest. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Steve, you're living a dream with your son, Danny, and also with what you do. Thanks for your time. It's great to hear from you. We'll see you soon.
Gentlemen, appreciate it as always. And, hey, looking forward to a heck of a game, and we'll catch up again later, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. At Wildfire_coach, Steve Stutsman, former Dangerfield High School, but Baylor tight end, and his son Danny, number 28 for Oklahoma. And he had a big one against Iowa State in that win up in Ames. This is 365 Sports.